Hello, all. Today we're going to start reading Romeo and Juliet. I want to remind you that if you click on in your Schoology page in my virtual classroom, if you click right here on this maroon novel, if you click on it, it'll take you here to No Fear Shakespeare. Now, this is a side-by-side version. That means on the left side of the novel, if we were in class, I have this exact copy in class. If we're reading the left side of the novel, we're reading the Shakespearean version. And on the side-by-side, on the right-hand version, we have the plain English or more modern translation. Excuse me. So we're going to scroll down. Now, at first, if you want to go back, there's the table of contents. If you want to reference what act or scene we're on, or that you want to go to, that'll give you the page number there. And this is just a sort of a description for all the main characters in the play. Now, if you want to go back on your own and look at this, that is fine. But the main thing I want you guys to understand is that Romeo and Juliet are not a prince and a princess. This is not a story of royalty. These are, however, two households, two different families that hate each other. Not just the families, but it's down to their servants. It's never stated why. I like to think of them as like two rival gangs or two different families within the mafia or something like that. They're extravagantly rich, and thus Romeo and Juliet are as well. One more thing to note is that most of the characters, like Romeo and Juliet, Mercutio, Benvolio, these are teenagers. These are not 25, 30-year-old people. Rather, other than the parents, these aren't 25, 30-year-old people having these arguments. The reason I want you to understand that is so that when you go in and you're analyzing the decisions of the characters, the choices that they make, think about how old they are. Their age plays a major factor in this play. Also, the two families' names are the Capulet family household and the Montague. As we're going on, we might have scenes with Lady Montague and Lady Capulet, and this is Romeo and Juliet's mothers. But the best way to remember, if we're reading and you can't remember which one is which, always remember that the Capulets and the Montagues, that is simply just their last name. Juliet's name rhymes. Her name is Juliet Capulet. Romeo is Montague. So if there's any time when you're reading or you're listening in, remember Juliet Capulet. Juliet, her name rhymes, and that's an easy way to remember which person belongs to which household. Also, we're only going to be reading from the pages with odd numbers. This is simply because we're only going to read the modern translated version. Because of this, we won't see a lot of the main quotes that you may have heard before, but I'll try to remind you where they are so that you can kind of understand, like, hey, I remember I've heard of this part in the play before. All right, so we're going to start with the prologue. The prologue is when we have someone before the play come out, pretty much tell us what the play is about and extend their gratitude for you being there, sort of like a movie trailer, only there was no such thing as movie trailers. This would have been right before the play began. The chorus says, "In the beautiful city of Verona, where our story takes place, a long-standing hatred between two families erupts into new violence, and citizens stain their hands with the blood of their fellow citizens. Two unlucky children of these enemies families become lovers and commit suicide. Their unfortunate death put an end to their parents' feud. For the next 2 hours, We will watch the story of their doomed love and their parents' anger, which nothing but the children's death could stop. If you listen to us patiently, we'll make up for everything we've left out in this prologue on stage. Now, this is in the prologue, in the actual prologue. I'm going to scroll up just to kind of show you the difference. This is when it would talk about star-crossed lovers. And I want you to remember this star-crossed lovers, even though, we're going back to the actual Shakespearean version, is because if you've ever heard of the term star-crossed lovers, this is where it comes from. There it is right there. A pair of star-crossed lovers take their life. Now, this will be on your test. I will ask you on your test what Romeo and Juliet refer to as. And this is where it will, you should know that they are referred to as star-crossed lovers. That means that, like, it was in the stars. It was their fate. They just had a terrible fate, Okay. So we're going to go ahead to page 19 because remember, we're only going to read the odd pages, and forgive me because I may just, out of mistake, skip or forget to skip a page. So bear with me, please. Act 1, Scene 1. We have Samson and Gregory, servants of the Capulet family. And if you remember, that's Juliet's family. They're carrying swords and small shields. They're in a street, just walking along. Samson says, Gregory, I swear we can't let them humiliate us. We won't take their garbage. In a teasing, laughing way, Gregory says, no, because then we'd be garbage men. This was, remember in the intro to Shakespeare when we talked about Shakespeare bringing in some kind of witty, funny comedy, especially when it comes to the servants? This would have been that. This would have been, these two guys probably between 16, 18 years old, walking down the street, kind of going back and forth with each other about how big and bad they are. Continuing, Samson says, what I mean is, if they make us angry, we'll pull out our swords. Maybe you should focus on pulling yourself out of trouble, Samson. I hit hard when I'm angry, but it's hard to make you angry. One of those dogs from the Montague house can make me angry. Angry enough to run away? You can't stand a fight. Samson replies, a dog from the house will make me angry enough to take a stand. If I pass one of them on the street, I'll take to the side closer to the wall and let him walk in the gutter. Now, walking in the gutter would have been, like nobody wants to walk in the gutter where there's, trash and dirt. And that's what he means. He's not worthy to walk on the street. He's going to try to make him to walk in the water. In the gutter, I'm sorry. Let's go on to page 21. Well, that means you're the weak one because weaklings get pushed up against the wall. You're right. That's why girls get pushed up against the wall. They're weak. So what I'll do is push the Montague men into the street and the Montague women against the wall. Now this, they're referring to rape. This is, again, where, remember, back in this era, this would have been something they could joke about. Today this is a hot topic that joking about rape would not be funny, but during Shakespearean time, this would have been hilarious because it happened a lot. So he's making a joke saying, yeah, I can't push the guys up against the wall. That's what the girls are for. I'll push the men into the street and the girls against the wall. Gregory says, the fight is between our masters and we men who work for them. It's all the same. I'll be a harsh master to them. After I fight the men, I'll be nice to the women. I'll cut off their heads. Cut off their heads? You mean their maiden heads? Cut off their heads. Take their maiden heads. Whatever. Take my remark whichever sense you like. The women you rape are the ones who'll have to sense it. They'll feel me as long as I can keep an erection. Everybody knows I'm a nice piece of flesh. It's a good thing you're not a piece of fish. You're dried and shriveled like a salted fish. So now they're kind of janking on each other. Abram and another servant of the Montagues enter. This is where Romeo's servants come in. Pull out your tool now. The guys are from the house of Montague. I have my naked sword. Fight, I'll back you up. How will you back me up? By turning your back and running away? Don't worry about me. No, really, I'm worried about you. Let's not break the law by starting a fight. Let them start something. So we can infer that you would have been in more trouble with the law by starting the fight. Sort of like it is now. You know, if it's self-defense, you can kind of get away with it. But if you start the fight, if you start the violence, you're going to be in a lot more trouble. And that's what they're talking about here. I'll frown on them as they pass by, and they can react however they want. You mean however they dare? I'll bite my thumb at them. That's an insult, and if they let me get away with it, they'll be dishonored. So here we see that him saying that if he bites his thumb at him, at the guys from the house of Montague, that it is sort of shameful. It's kind of like giving somebody the bird now, flipping somebody off. You know, you're doing it to instigate without actually showing violence. You know, most of the time when we do that, we want somebody to act out, and that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to provoke the guys from the house of Montague to start a fight. Abram from the house of Montague says, "Hey, are you biting your thumb at us?" "I'm biting my thumb." "Are you biting your thumb at us?" Aside to Gregory, "Is the law on our side if I say yes?" "No," Gregory says. Samson says to Abram, "No, sir, I'm not biting my thumb at you, but I am biting my thumb." "Are you trying to start a fight?" "Start a fight? No, sir." So they start kind of realizing this probably wasn't the best idea. It kind of shows their cowardice a little, where he's like, he doesn't want to get in trouble. So he's like, I mean, I did flip the bird, but not at you. Is sort of what's going on here. I'm going to skip to 25. "If you want to fight, I'm your man. My employer is as good as yours, but he's not better than mine." "Well, then." Benvolio enters. Now, Benvolio is a very important character that you should remember. Benvolio is Romeo's first cousin and best friend. Gregory, speaking so that only Samson can hear, he says, "Say better. Here comes one of my employer's relatives." Samson says to Eder, "Yes, better, sir." Abram says, "You lie." So Samson says, "Pull out your swords if you're men." Gregory, remember how to slash. I'm sorry about that. So they fight. Benvolio, you'll see that he's more of a peacekeeper here. He tries to keep everyone peaceful and calm. He says, "Break it up, you fools. Put your swords away. You don't know what you're doing." Tybalt enters. Now, Tybalt is Juliet's first cousin. Not necessarily friends, but it is her first cousin. Probably a little bit older. And he would be Benvolio, who's the peacekeeper. He's sort of his exact opposite.